Hello, sweetheart. Mom's cheerful voice answered on the third ring. Background noise suggested she was somewhere tropical and relaxing. Mom, what the hell is going on with my emergency credit card? I tried to keep my voice steady, but pain and shock made my words sharper than intended. A pause. Oh, well, Madison's graduation was such a special occasion, and we wanted to give her a proper celebration. You know how hard she worked in college? You maxed out $23,000 on a vacation. My voice cracked with disbelief. Now, Edie, don't be dramatic. You make good money, honey. Madison deserves this after graduating college. It's not like you ever spend money on anything fun anyway. The casual dismissal hit me like a physical blow. I thought about the 3 years it had taken me to carefully build that emergency fund while paying off my student loans and supporting myself since I turned 18. While Madison got dance lessons, cheerleading camp, and a fully paid college experience, I had been working part-time jobs since I was 15, saving every penny I could for true emergencies. Mom, that money was specifically for your and Dad's medical emergencies. I gave you that card after Dad's heart surgery in case something happened and you needed immediate help. Well, this was an emergency in a way. Madison was so stressed about graduation and starting her new job. She needed this break. The pain in my jaw intensified, reminding me why I was sitting in this parking lot. I'm at the dentist right now with an abscessed tooth that needs emergency surgery today. The infection could spread to my brain if I don't get this taken care of immediately, and now I can't afford it because you spent my emergency fund on a luxury vacation. Oh, well, I'm sure you can work something out. You're so good with money and planning. Before I could respond, I heard Dad's voice in the background asking who was on the phone. It's Edie. She's upset about the credit card. Mom said, not bothering to cover the phone. Let me talk to her, Dad said, and I heard the phone being passed over. Edie, what's this about the credit card? Your mother said you're being difficult. Dad, I gave you both that card for medical emergencies only. You've spent $23,000 on Madison's vacation in Hawaii. I can't afford my emergency dental surgery now. Listen here, young lady. Madison just graduated college. This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment for her. Family takes care of family. You've got a good job and you'll figure it out. Stop being so selfish. The word selfish hit me like a slap. Selfish? I had been supporting myself completely since 18 while watching my parents fund Madison's entire lifestyle. I had given them an emergency credit card out of love and concern for their health, and somehow I was selfish for being upset they had abused that trust. I worked 3 jobs in college to pay my own way. I said quietly, I've been building this emergency fund for 3 years, saving every extra dollar. This was supposed to be for if you had another heart attack or Mom needed surgery. And we appreciate that. But Madison needed this. She's been so anxious about starting her career. A little vacation never hurt anybody. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar pattern settling over me. Throughout my childhood, I had been the responsible one, the one who cleaned up messes and never asked for anything. Madison got the ballet lessons I wanted because she was younger and needed more activities. Madison got the bigger bedroom because she had more friends over. Madison got a car for her 16th birthday while I bought my own used Honda with money from my part-time job at the grocery store. The dental office is calling me back in, I said, watching the receptionist wave at me through the window. This surgery can't wait without serious health risks. You'll figure something out, sweetheart. You always do. That's why we're so proud of you. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Madison's name flashed on the screen. Dad, Madison's calling me. I have to go. Tell her we said hello. We're having such a wonderful time here. I switched to Madison's call and immediately heard party music and laughter in the background. Edie! Oh my gosh, you should see this place. We're on this amazing catamaran right now and the water is like the most beautiful blue I've ever seen. Madison, we need to talk about the credit card. What about it? Hold on. I'm going live on Instagram. Everyone back home is so jealous of this trip. I heard her switch to speakerphone. Hey everyone, Madison here from gorgeous Hawaii. Just wanted to thank my amazing family that actually supports my dreams and knows how to celebrate life's big moments. Unlike some people who are too selfish to help family, my parents and my wonderful sister Edie made sure I could have the graduation trip of a lifetime. My mouth fell open. She was live streaming my financial exploitation as if I had willingly funded this extravagant vacation, while simultaneously calling me selfish for questioning it. Madison, turn off the live stream. We need to talk privately. Why? This is my moment, Edie. Sorry if you can't handle seeing someone else be happy for once. The dentist's office door opened, and the receptionist stepped outside. Miss Patterson, we really need to get you in for surgery now. I hung up on Madison and walked back into the office, realizing I would have to dip into my regular savings account to cover the emergency surgery. The money I had been saving for a down payment on a house would now go to fixing my tooth, while my family lived it up in Hawaii on money that was supposed to protect them. As I sat in the dentist's chair, numbed and waiting for the procedure to begin, I thought about the pattern that had defined my entire relationship with my family. I was always the responsible one, the one who sacrificed, the one who cleaned up messes. And somehow, when I finally needed help, I was selfish for expecting the emergency fund I had created to actually be there for me. 3 days after my dental surgery, I was surviving on soup and pain medication when I decided to face the full extent of what my family had done. My jaw was still swollen, and talking was difficult. But I needed to understand exactly how $23,000 had been spent. I logged into my credit card account and began methodically reviewing every single charge. What I found made my stomach turn. The presidential suite at the Grand Paradise Resort in Maui for 7 nights, $4,000 per night. Couples massages at the spa, private dining experiences on the beach, a helicopter tour of the island for 4 people. Madison's boyfriend Tyler was clearly part of this trip, with his meals and activities included in the charges. 4 people. They had brought Tyler and were treating him to my money too. I called the resort directly and asked to speak with someone about the charges on my account. Good afternoon. This is Marcus Thompson, the guest services manager. How can I help you today? Hi. I need to ask about some charges on my credit card for a recent stay at your resort. The reservation would be under Robert Patterson. Let me pull up that account. Yes. I see the reservation. The presidential suite for 7 nights? Quite a lovely stay. Your family mentioned you were covering everything as a graduation gift for your sister. Very generous of you. I'm sorry. What did you say? Your parents specifically mentioned that you were treating your sister to this vacation as a graduation present. They were quite proud when they told our concierge that their daughter was covering all the expenses. The room started spinning. They had not just stolen my money, they had actively lied about it, claiming I was a willing participant in funding this extravagant gift. Can you tell me the total amount charged to my card? Certainly. The total came to $23,476. The suite, dining, spa services, excursions, shopping charges from our boutique, and some additional charges at local establishments they visited. After I hung up, I sat staring at the statement until my friend Jenna knocked on my door. I had texted her about the surgery and she had brought me more soup and ice cream. You look terrible, she said, taking in my swollen face and the papers scattered around my laptop. How are you feeling, physically or emotionally? Both, I guess. I told her everything. About the credit card, the vacation, Madison's live stream calling me selfish. Jenna listened with increasing outrage. Edie, this is financial abuse. They stole from you and then publicly humiliated you about it. I've been looking at Madison's social media, I said, showing her my phone. Look at what she posted yesterday. The post showed Madison in a designer bikini on the beach with the caption, "When your family actually supports your dreams versus people who are stingy and jealous of your success." I see here that on January 15th, an authorized user was added to this account, the customer service representative told me. Madison Patterson. She's been making purchases directly with the card since then. I never authorized that. The request came from the primary cardholders, Robert and Sandra Patterson. They have the authority to add authorized users to the emergency card account. My parents had given Madison direct access to my emergency card without telling me. She had been testing the boundaries for months, seeing how much she could spend before I noticed. Can you tell me what other charges Madison has made? I see various charges over the past 6 months. Restaurants, clothing stores, a spa day in February, some online shopping. The total for her individual charges, apart from this recent Hawaii trip, is approximately $3,000. $3,000 in unauthorized charges over 6 months. Madison had been slowly stealing from me while I remained completely unaware. I need to report this as fraudulent use. Certainly, since she was added as an authorized user by the primary cardholders without the account owner's consent, this does constitute unauthorized use. We can begin a fraud investigation. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen trying to process what I had learned. This wasn't a spontaneous decision or a momentary lapse in judgment. Madison had been systematically using my emergency fund for months. With my parents' knowledge and permission, they had turned my act of love and concern into their personal family slush fund. My phone rang. Dad's number. Edie, your mother and I are concerned about your attitude. Madison told us you called the resort asking questions. We don't appreciate you checking up on us like we're children. You spent $23,000 without asking me. We told you. Madison deserved this trip, and frankly, we're disappointed that you can't be happy for your sister's success. Success? She used my emergency money to take her boyfriend on a luxury vacation and then called me selfish on social media. Madison didn't mean anything by that post. She's just excited about her trip. You're being too sensitive. I found out you added her as an authorized user to the card. She's been making charges for months. Silence. We thought it would be easier if she could handle some of her own expenses. It's not like you were using it. The money was just sitting there. The casual dismissal of my financial planning and security was breathtaking. To them, my carefully saved emergency fund was just money sitting around because I wasn't spending it on vacations and luxury items. That money was for medical emergencies, for if you had another heart attack or if mom needed surgery. Well, when that happens, we'll figure it out. Madison needed this more right now. I hung up and stared at my phone. My family had taken my love, my concern for their well-being and my financial sacrifice, and turned it into funding for Madison's lifestyle, while making me the villain for questioning it. For the first time, I started to see the pattern clearly. I had been trained from childhood to be the responsible one, the one who gives, the one who solves problems, and my family had learned to take without gratitude, to expect my help without offering reciprocal support, and to make me feel guilty when I finally said no. After a sleepless night replaying every conversation and trying to understand how my family could justify their actions, I decided to call Madison directly. I needed to understand her perspective and hopefully reach some kind of resolution before things got worse. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful. Oh, hi, Edie. I was wondering when you'd call. Are you still upset about the credit card thing? The credit card thing? Madison, you spent over $23,000 of my money. Come on. It's not like you were going to spend it anyway. You never buy anything fun. You just hoard money like some kind of financial prepper. Her casual dismissal was stunning. That money was for mom and dad's medical emergencies. And when they have a medical emergency, you'll figure out how to pay for it. You always do. You're like, super responsible and good at managing money. Where did you get the idea that I owe you a luxury vacation? Madison's tone shifted, becoming defensive. I don't think I owe anything. Edie, but if you want to talk about debt, let's talk about all the things you owe me. What are you talking about? Really? You don't remember getting the bigger bedroom for the first 10 years of my life? Or getting all the new clothes while I wore your hand-me-downs? Or how mom and dad were always more impressed with your grades, so I had to work twice as hard to get any attention? I was speechless. These were her grievances? The bedroom situation happened because I was older. The clothes were practical economics that most families navigated. And my grades were the result of studying constantly while working part-time jobs. Madison, I worked jobs throughout high school to buy my own clothes. You got dance lessons and cheerleading. I paid my own way through college while mom and dad paid for yours completely. That's because you wanted to be all independent and prove how mature you were. I didn't ask to go to college debt-free, but I accepted the help because that's what families do. So you think I chose to work my way through college just to prove a point? Kind of, yeah. And now you act like you're so much more responsible than everyone else because you work all the time and never spend money on anything fun. This was beyond anything I had imagined. In Madison's mind, my financial struggles and independence had been choices I made to appear superior, not circumstances forced by necessity. Madison, when I was your age, I was supporting myself completely. I didn't have the option of taking luxury vacations on someone else's money. See, that's what I'm talking about. You always make everything about how hard you worked and how much you sacrificed. Maybe if you learned how to relax and accept help from family, you'd be happier. Accept help? You mean like how I helped mom and dad with the emergency card? That's different. You gave them that card because you wanted to feel important and in control. Her reframing of my genuine concern for our parents' welfare as a control tactic was breathtaking. I gave them that card because I was worried about Dad's health and wanted them to be able to get help if they needed it. Whatever your reasons, the point is you set up this family credit card and now you're mad that the family used it. For a vacation. Not an emergency. Who decides what counts as an emergency? Maybe Madison graduating college and needing a break before starting her career was an emergency for her mental health. Before I could respond, I heard a male voice in the background. Is that your sister? Let me talk to her. Tyler got on the phone. Edie, this is Tyler. I just want you to know that Madison has been really upset about your reaction to this trip. She worked really hard in college and deserves to celebrate. Tyler, this trip cost over $23,000 from my emergency fund. Did you know that when you decided to come along? Madison told me her family was treating her to a graduation trip. I offered to pay my own way, but her parents insisted it was covered. By me, without my knowledge or consent. Look, I don't really understand all the family financial dynamics here, but Madison says you've always been kind of controlling about money. Maybe this is a chance for you to learn how to be more generous. Controlling about money. This was how my careful financial planning and the boundaries I had set around emergency funds were being characterized by my 22-year-old sister's boyfriend. Tyler, I've been financially independent since I was 18. This money took me 3 years to save. It wasn't meant for vacations. Right, but Madison said you never spend money on anything anyway, so it's not like you had other plans for it. Madison took the phone back. See, Edie? Even Tyler can see that you're being unreasonable about this. Madison, do you understand that I had to use my house down payment money to pay for emergency dental surgery because you maxed out the emergency card? You'll rebuild your savings. You always do. That's what you're good at. And what if mom or dad has a medical emergency while you're spending the emergency money on vacation? Then, well, figure something out. Maybe take out a loan or something. It's not like they're going to die if they can't immediately pay for treatment. Her casual attitude toward our parents' potential medical needs was chilling. Madison, I need you to understand how serious this is. I'm considering reporting the charges as fraud. You wouldn't do that to family. You've been making charges on my emergency card for 6 months without telling me. Tyler, who isn't even family, has been living it up on my money, and you're calling me selfish on social media for being upset about it. I was just excited about the trip. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It wasn't about hurt feelings. You publicly claimed that I was willing funding this vacation while also calling me too selfish to help family. Do you understand how that makes me look to everyone who knows us? There was a pause before Madison's voice changed, becoming calculating. Actually, Edie, since we're talking about this, Tyler and I were thinking about taking another trip for his birthday next month. Las Vegas could be really fun, and I was hoping I could use the card again. My jaw dropped. She was already planning to steal more money. You want to use my emergency card for another vacation? Well, yeah. I mean, you'll get over this whole thing like you always do. You never stay mad at family for long. And Tyler's parents are super wealthy, so it's not like we really need to worry about money long term. This is just temporary until we figure out our own financial situation. Madison, Tyler's parents being wealthy means Tyler can pay for his own birthday trip. But that's not as much fun. Besides, I already promised him we could do something really nice. I told him my sister is generous and loves helping families celebrate special occasions. I realized that Madison had moved past viewing this as a one-time mistake. She now saw my emergency card as an ongoing family resource she could access for any celebration or trip she wanted to take. What else have you promised Tyler my money would pay for? Nothing major. Maybe some weekend getaways. And I mentioned that when we get engaged, the card could help with wedding expenses. Tyler's parents will pay for the actual wedding, but there are so many other costs, like the engagement party and bridal shower and honeymoon. She had planned out years of using my money for her relationship milestones. Madison, I'm hanging up now. Wait, Edie. Don't be mad. We're family. This is what families do for each other. When I'm successful and making good money, it'll help you too. When have you ever helped me with anything? I helped you learn how to be more fun and social in high school. Remember how I tried to get you to come to parties instead of working all the time? Her version of helping was trying to distract me from the work that paid for my necessities and future. I hung up and sat in my kitchen, finally understanding that this wasn't about one expensive vacation, or even 6 months of unauthorized charges. Madison had reframed my entire family relationship in her mind. She saw me as the family bank account, my financial responsibility as a character flaw that made me less deserving of consideration, and my boundaries as selfishness that needed to be overcome. And my parents had not just enabled this perspective, they had actively encouraged it by giving her access to my money and supporting her entitlement. For the first time, I realized that fixing this situation would require more than a conversation or a payment plan. My entire family had developed a perspective on our relationships that made me the perpetual giver and them the entitled receivers. Until that dynamic changed, no amount of money would ever be enough. I spent that entire night staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through 28 years of family interactions with new clarity. Every time I had been the responsible one, every sacrifice I had made, every boundary I had set only to be guilt-tripped into backing down. I had trained my family to see me as a resource rather than a person with my own needs and limits. At 6 in the morning, I called in sick to work. I needed time to understand the full scope of what had been happening and figure out what to do about it. I started by documenting everything. Every credit card charge, every conversation, every social media post. I made a timeline of Madison's unauthorized use of the card and my parents' involvement. What emerged was a pattern of financial manipulation that had been escalating for months. Then I called my Aunt Lisa, Dad's sister who lived across the country. Lisa had always been the practical one in the family, and I needed perspective from someone outside the immediate situation. Edie, honey, how are you? Your dad mentioned you were having some family drama about money. Aunt Lisa, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Of course, sweetheart. Have Mom and Dad been borrowing money from you or other relatives recently? There was a long pause. Edie, I thought you knew about this. Your dad called me 6 months ago asking for help with medical expenses. He said you were coordinating the family financial support and would be in touch with me about how much everyone was contributing. My hands started shaking. What medical expenses? He said he needed help covering some ongoing treatment costs that insurance wasn't covering. He mentioned that you had set up some kind of family fund to help, and that other relatives were contributing too. Aunt Lisa, I never set up any family fund. I gave them an emergency credit card for medical emergencies, but I don't know anything about ongoing treatment costs or family contributions. Another long pause. Edie, your dad borrowed $5,000 from me 3 months ago. He said you had asked him to reach out to relatives who could help bridge the gap between insurance and medical bills. $5,000. My parents had borrowed money from relatives using my name and reputation as collateral for their credibility. Did he mention what specific medical treatment needed this money? He was vague about that. Said it was related to his heart condition and some testing that needed to be done. Edie, are you telling me you don't know anything about this? Aunt Lisa, I'm finding out that my parents have been lying to everyone. They've been using my emergency credit card for vacations and letting Madison make personal charges for months. Now I'm learning they've been borrowing money from family using my name. Oh my God, Edie. Your Uncle Mark lent them $3,000 last month, and I think they asked your cousin Jennifer for help too. My family had used my reputation for financial responsibility to borrow money from multiple relatives while simultaneously draining my actual emergency fund for non-emergencies. How much do you think they've borrowed total? I can make some calls and find out. But Edie, if they've been lying about medical expenses to borrow money, that's fraud. After hanging up with Lisa, I called the bank's fraud department to understand exactly what options I had. Miss Patterson, given the circumstances you've described, you have grounds to report both unauthorized use of your credit account and potential identity theft if they've been using your name to secure loans from others. What does that process look like? We would freeze the account immediately, conduct a full investigation of all charges made by the unauthorized users, and provide documentation that could be used in legal proceedings if necessary. And what happens to the people who made the unauthorized charges? If fraud is proven, they could face criminal charges. The bank would pursue recovery of the funds through legal means, even if they're family members. Fraud is fraud, Miss Patterson. Family relationships don't change the legal definition of unauthorized use of someone else's credit. I hung up and called my attorney's office. I had used a lawyer for my house hunting process and knew she also handled financial disputes. Sarah, this is Edie Patterson. I need to consult with you about a family financial situation that might require legal action. An hour later, I was in Sarah's office, explaining everything. Edie, what your family has done constitutes several different types of fraud: the unauthorized use of your credit card, the false representation to obtain loans from relatives, and the identity theft aspects of using your name to establish credibility for their borrowing. What are my options? You can report the fraud to both your bank and local law enforcement. Given the amounts involved and the systematic nature of what they've done, this would likely be prosecuted as a felony. Alternatively, you could confront them with the evidence and demand full restitution with the understanding that failure to comply would result in criminal charges. What would you recommend? Personally, I'd recommend starting with the bank fraud report. It documents everything officially and starts the process of recovering your money. Your family's response to that will tell you whether they understand the seriousness of the situation. While I was thinking about Sarah's advice, my phone started buzzing with notifications. I checked social media and found that Madison had posted another live stream from Hawaii. She was at some kind of spa, getting what looked like an expensive facial treatment, talking to her followers. Some people have been asking about family drama, and I just want to say that I'm grateful to be surrounded by love and support here in this beautiful place. My sister Edie has been stressed about money lately, which I understand because she works really hard. But sometimes you have to remember that life is about more than just saving every penny. Family takes care of family, and I'm so blessed that my family knows how to celebrate life's important moments instead of just hoarding money for some theoretical future emergency. She was doing it again, publicly positioning herself as the victim of my financial stress while actively spending my money on luxury spa treatments. But this time, she made a crucial mistake. Tyler and I are already talking about our next adventure. His birthday is coming up and Las Vegas is going to be amazing. I'm just grateful to have a family that supports love and celebration instead of being negative about every expense. She had just announced to her social media followers that she was planning another expensive trip, clearly intending to use my money again. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Sarah. This just posted while I was driving back from your office. Sarah called me within an hour. Edie, she just provided perfect evidence of premeditation and intent to continue the fraud. This isn't a misunderstanding or a one-time mistake. She's planning ongoing theft and documenting it on social media. So what do? I think it's time to file the fraud report and let your family face the legal consequences of their choices. They clearly don't understand the seriousness of what they've done, and they're planning to continue. That evening, I spent 3 hours researching the resort's payment policies and cancellation procedures. I learned that guests were personally responsible for all charges during their stay, and that unpaid balances would be sent to collections within 48 hours of checkout. I also researched the bank's fraud investigation process. Once reported, the charges would be disputed, and my family would be required to provide documentation proving the charges were authorized. Since I had never given permission for vacation spending and had specifically designated the card for medical emergencies, they wouldn't be able to provide that documentation. Finally, I crafted a detailed email explaining exactly why I was taking action. I planned to send it to my parents, Madison, and the relatives who had been lending money based on false pretenses. Everyone deserved to know the truth about what had been happening. But first, I needed to make sure my family couldn't cause any more financial damage. It was time to cancel the credit card and let them deal with the consequences of their choices. I looked at my phone, seeing 17 missed calls from Madison and 12 text messages asking me to call her back. She probably wanted to talk about the Las Vegas trip. Instead, I called the bank to begin the fraud report process. I need to report unauthorized use of my credit account and cancel the card immediately. I can help you with that, Miss Patterson. When would you like the cancellation to take effect? I thought about my family sitting down to their expensive farewell dinner at the resort, planning to charge it to my card like every other meal of their stolen vacation. Immediately. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I had spent my entire adult life managing my family's emergencies, financing their comfort, and accepting their ingratitude as normal family dynamics. Today, that pattern was going to end. My first call was to Marcus Thompson, the guest services manager at the Grand Paradise Resort. Mr. Thompson, this is Edie Patterson. We spoke yesterday about charges on my credit card for my family stay. Yes, Miss Patterson. How can I help you today? I need to inform you that my credit card has been used fraudulently. I'm filing a fraud report with my bank today, and I wanted to give you advance notice that the card will be canceled immediately. I understand. What does this mean for the outstanding charges on your family's account? Any charges not already processed will be declined. Your resort will need to collect payment for outstanding balances directly from the guests. And what about charges already processed? Those are part of the fraud investigation. I'll be providing your contact information to my bank as part of the dispute process. Miss Patterson, I have to ask, are you certain about this course of action? Fraud charges against family members can have serious legal consequences. Mr. Thompson, my family used a credit card designated for medical emergencies to fund a luxury vacation without my knowledge or consent. They've been lying to relatives about medical expenses to borrow additional money. This isn't a family disagreement, it's systematic financial fraud. I understand. Well, cooperate fully with any investigation. Can you provide me with your home address so we can send the outstanding bill directly to your parents? I gave him my parents' address and thanked him for his cooperation. My next call was to the bank. This is Edie Patterson. I need to report fraudulent charges on my account and cancel my credit card immediately. I can help you with that. What's the nature of the fraudulent charges? My parents were given access to this card specifically for medical emergencies. They've used it to fund a luxury vacation in Hawaii and have allowed my sister to make personal charges for months without my knowledge or permission. I see. And you have documentation of the card's intended use? Yes. I have emails and text messages from when I gave them the card, specifying it was only for medical emergencies. I also have social media evidence of my sister documenting the unauthorized use and planning future fraudulent charges. That should be sufficient for our investigation. I'm canceling the card now. What time is it currently in Hawaii? I think it's about noon there. Perfect. The cancellation will take effect immediately, so any attempt to use the card after this moment will be declined. After completing the fraud report, I called Sarah, my attorney. Sarah, I filed the fraud report and canceled the card. What's my next step? The subject line was, regarding fraudulent use of emergency credit card and false medical expense claims. I explained everything. The card's intended purpose, the unauthorized vacation charges, Madison's 6 months of personal spending, the lies told to relatives about medical expenses, and my decision to report the fraud to both the bank and potentially law enforcement. I ended with, I provided an emergency credit card out of love and concern for your health and safety. You turned my care into a source of funding for luxury vacations while lying to our extended family to obtain additional loans. These actions constitute fraud, and I will no longer enable them by pretending this is normal family behavior. I copied relatives on the email, so they would understand they had been manipulated and could make informed decisions about any future loan requests. Then I changed my phone number. I wasn't ready to manage their emotional manipulation while they figured out how to handle the consequences of their actions. At 7:30 that evening, my new phone rang, Sarah's number. Edie, I just got a very interesting call. A gentleman named Marcus Thompson from a resort in Hawaii called my office looking for you. Apparently your parents gave your name and my contact information when they couldn't reach you after their credit card was declined. What did he tell you? Your family's final dinner last night was declined, along with several other charges today. They currently owe the resort over $4,000 in unpaid charges, and the resort requires payment before they can check out tomorrow. What did you tell him? I told him I represent you in the fraud case against your family, and that all outstanding charges should be sent directly to your parents' home address. I also informed him that you would be providing his contact information to law enforcement as part of the fraud investigation. How did he respond? He was very professional. Apparently, this isn't the first time he's dealt with credit card fraud, though he said it's unusual for family members to be involved. He mentioned that your parents seemed genuinely shocked that the card was canceled. They actually thought I would just accept this. It sounds like they've never faced real consequences for their financial behavior before. What happens now? Now we wait and see how they handle being held accountable for their choices. Their response will tell us whether this was malicious fraud or misguided entitlement. After hanging up with Sarah, I sat in my quiet apartment and realized something had fundamentally changed. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't wondering how to fix a problem my family had created. I wasn't calculating how much money I would need to make their situation go away. I wasn't feeling guilty for having boundaries about my own financial security. Instead, I was simply waiting to see whether my family would choose to take responsibility for their actions or continue trying to manipulate their way out of consequences. The difference felt like breathing fresh air after years of suffocation. My new phone remained quiet for the rest of the evening. Tomorrow, I would find out whether my family was ready to acknowledge what they had done, or if they would continue the pattern that had defined our relationships for decades. Either way, I was finally free of the obligation to rescue them from problems they had created themselves. I woke up the next morning to 17 voicemails on my new phone, from numbers I didn't recognize. My family had clearly been working hard to reach me through mutual friends and relatives. I listened to the first few messages. Edie, this is your mother. We're stranded in Hawaii because you canceled our credit card. We can't check out of the hotel until we pay $4,000 we don't have. I don't understand why you're being so cruel. Please call me back immediately. Edie. It's Dad. What you've done is completely out of line. We're your family. You can't just leave us stranded thousands of miles from home. We need to talk about this like adults. Edie, it's Madison. I can't believe you actually did this. Tyler's parents had to wire us money to pay the hotel bill, and they're furious. Tyler might break up with me over this. How could you do this to your own sister? I deleted the voicemails without listening to the rest and called Sarah. How are you holding up? She asked. Better than I expected. What have you heard? Quite a lot, actually. The resort called this morning to confirm they received payment from Tyler's family and that your parents were able to check out. But there's more. What kind of more? Your bank called. During their fraud investigation, they discovered this isn't the first questionable use of the card. Madison has been making unauthorized charges for 6 months. But there's also cash advances your father took that he claimed were for medical expenses. Cash advances. Over $8,000 in cash advances over the past year. When the bank investigated, they found the cash was used for online gambling deposits, not medical bills. My father had been gambling with my emergency money while telling relatives he needed help with medical expenses. There's more, Edie. The bank's investigation triggered a review of your father's other accounts. He owes significant gambling debts, which explains the real reason behind the loan requests to relatives. How much does he owe? The bank couldn't give specifics, but based on the cash advance pattern, it's substantial. Your emergency fund wasn't just funding Madison's vacation. It was covering your father's gambling addiction. I sat down heavily. The family financial crisis was much deeper than luxury vacations and entitlement. My father had a serious gambling problem, and my mother had been enabling it while Madison benefited from the chaos. What does this mean for the fraud case? It strengthens your position significantly. This was systematic theft for addiction and lifestyle funding, not a family misunderstanding. An hour later, Aunt Lisa called. Edie, I've been making calls to the family. Your parents borrowed money from 5 different relatives over the past year, totaling almost $20,000. $20,000. And now we know none of it was for medical expenses. Everyone is furious, Edie. Uncle Mark is talking about pressing charges separately from your case. Have you heard from Mom or Dad directly? Your mother called me this morning crying, begging me to convince you to fix this. She says they can't afford a lawyer and they don't understand how things got this far. Did she admit to lying about the medical expenses? Not directly, But she did say your father has been under a lot of stress and made some poor financial decisions. That's the closest thing to an admission I've gotten. By noon, I had missed calls from 6 different relatives, 3 family friends, and someone claiming to be Tyler's mother. The financial fraud had created a domino effect that was revealing years of lies and manipulation. Sarah called with an update. The bank completed their preliminary investigation. Total unauthorized use of your account over the past year, $31,000. The Hawaii vacation was $23,000. Madison's personal charges were $5,000, and your father's cash advances were $8,000, $31,000. Edie, this is a felony case now. The amounts involved make this serious criminal fraud. What does that mean for my family? They need to either make immediate full restitution and enter formal accountability programs, or they'll face criminal prosecution. That afternoon, I received a certified letter at my office. My parents had hired a lawyer. The letter demanded I stop the fraud investigation immediately and accused me of financial abuse by canceling the card while they were traveling. It claimed the money had been used for legitimate family expenses and that I had verbally authorized all charges. I forwarded the letter to Sarah. Edie, this is actually good news. How is threatening to sue me good news? Because they're claiming you verbally authorized $31,000 in charges, including cash advances for gambling. That's going to be impossible for them to prove, especially with Madison's social media posts showing surprise that you were upset about the vacation. So what happens next? I think it's time to offer them a choice. Full restitution, plus enrollment in financial counseling and addiction treatment. Or criminal prosecution. Their response will determine how this ends. 2 hours later, my new phone rang. Tyler's number. Edie, this is Mrs. Henderson, Tyler's mother. Hello, Mrs. Henderson. I owe you an apology. Tyler told me about your family's financial situation, and I had no idea our son was participating in what amounts to theft from you. I appreciate you calling. I want you to know that we've forbidden Tyler from having any further contact with Madison until she makes full restitution to you. What your family did was unconscionable. Thank you for understanding. Edie, there's something else you should know. Madison has been telling Tyler that this is all normal family drama, and that you'll forgive everyone in a few weeks like you always do. She genuinely seems to believe this will blow over. What did Tyler say? Hes horrified. He had no idea the money was stolen, and he's ending the relationship. My son was raised better than to participate in family financial fraud. Madison had lost her boyfriend because she couldn't admit the seriousness of what she had done. That evening, I got a call from Marcus Thompson at the resort. Miss Patterson, I wanted to give you an update. Your family's outstanding charges have been paid, but there was quite a scene when they realized the implications of what had happened. What kind of scene? Your sister seemed genuinely shocked that there could be legal consequences for using someone else's credit card without permission. She kept saying it was just family money and that you would fix everything. And my parents. Your mother was very upset, but your father seemed to understand the seriousness immediately. He asked me several times about whether charges had already been filed and what his legal exposure might be. Did they say anything else? Your father asked me to tell you that he knows he has a problem and wants to fix it. Your mother and sister still seem to think this is a family disagreement that can be resolved with apologies. I hung up and realized my family's response was exactly what I had expected. Dad was panicking because he understood the legal implications of stealing $31,000. Madison was confused because she genuinely believed family relationships exempted her from consequences. And Mom was trying to manage everyone's emotions without acknowledging the fundamental problem. For 28 years, I had been the one who fixed problems, managed crises, and absorbed the emotional cost of my family's poor decisions. But not this time. This time, they were going to have to figure out how to fix the mess they had created without my help. 3 weeks later, I sat in Sarah's office reviewing the settlement agreement my family's attorney had proposed. They're offering full restitution plus interest, Sarah explained. Your father has agreed to enter a gambling addiction treatment program, and Madison will be paying you back $200 a month from her new retail job until her portion is fully repaid. What about the money they borrowed from relatives? That's a separate issue, but your Aunt Lisa tells me several relatives are pursuing their own restitution agreements. Your Uncle Mark has filed a separate fraud complaint, and the criminal charges, if they comply with the restitution agreement and complete the required programs, The prosecutor will drop the charges. Your father's gambling addiction will be documented as a mitigating factor, but only if he successfully completes treatment. I signed the agreement, not because I wanted to reconcile immediately, but because I wanted my family to have the opportunity to actually change their behavior. 6 months later, the transformation in my family's dynamics was remarkable. Dad had completed his gambling addiction treatment and was attending twice-weekly support group meetings. For the first time in my adult life, he called me to ask how I was doing rather than to request financial help. Madison had moved back home and was working full-time at a department store to pay restitution. She sent me a letter 2 months after the settlement, apologizing for not understanding how hard you worked for that money and acknowledging that she had taken advantage of your kindness. Mom had started therapy for codependency and was learning to set boundaries with both Dad and Madison. She called me to apologize for enabling the situation and for making me feel responsible for everyone else's financial problems. The most surprising change was in how extended family treated these relationships. Uncle Mark and Aunt Lisa made it clear that any future loan requests would require documentation and legal agreements. The family's financial manipulation tactics no longer worked because everyone understood what had really been happening. For me, the settlement money allowed me to rebuild my emergency fund and take my first real vacation in 5 years. I spent a week in Colorado hiking and realized how much stress I had been carrying about my family's financial irresponsibility. The experience taught me that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. For years, I had enabled my family's bad financial behavior by always being available to solve their problems. By finally letting them face the consequences of their actions, I had forced them to develop actual problem-solving skills. Madison learned that money requires work and planning. Dad learned that his gambling addiction had real impacts on people he loved. Mom learned that protecting people from consequences doesn't actually help them grow. And I learned that love doesn't require financial sacrifice. Real family relationships can survive honest conversations about boundaries and expectations. A year later, Madison invited me to lunch to celebrate paying off half her restitution. She had saved enough money to move into her own apartment and was proud of her financial independence. "I never understood why you worked so much," she told me over salad. "I thought you were just being dramatic about money, but earning my own money and paying my own bills has been really satisfying." Dad sent me a card on the anniversary of his first year in recovery, thanking me for caring enough to let me hit bottom instead of enabling my addiction. Mom started asking my advice about financial planning and budgeting, genuinely wanting to learn skills she had never developed. The family relationships that emerged from this crisis were healthier and more honest than anything we had ever experienced. Instead of the pattern of crisis, rescue, and resentment, we developed mutual respect and real support. The most important lesson I learned was that protecting someone from the consequences of their choices isn't love, it's enabling. When I finally stopped rescuing my family from problems they created, they learned to solve problems themselves. True family love includes accountability, boundaries, and the expectation that everyone will contribute to the relationship's health and stability. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people experience the full weight of their decisions, because that's the only way they learn to make better choices. My family learned to respect me not when I gave them everything they wanted, but when I finally had the courage to say no and mean it. Now, when we spend time together, it's because we enjoy each other's company, not because someone needs money or help managing a crisis they created. The relationships are based on mutual respect and genuine affection, rather than financial obligation and emotional manipulation. And for the first time in my adult life, when my phone rings with my family's numbers, I answer because I want to talk to them, not because I'm afraid of what crisis they need me to solve. What would you do if your family treated your emergency fund like their personal vacation account? Have you ever had to set financial boundaries with people you love, even when it felt impossible? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life stories about setting boundaries and finding your voice. And if you know someone who's struggling with family financial manipulation, please share this video with them. Sometimes we all need to hear that it's okay to say no, even to family. Thanks for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you remember that your financial boundaries matter just as much as your love for the people in your life.